Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Grove podcast. The funny thing is, every single time we record, we win. And so here we are again because we need a win against Newcastle next week. And Porto, how could I forget? Before I get too ahead of myself, I'm going to introduce my lovely guests. Tabs.
Good evening, everyone.
Whale.
Good evening, fine gentlemen.
And we have another new guest today. They're coming in their droves. A very warm welcome to our latest and greatest, David. How are you?
Doing swell. What can I say?
Perfect. So, God, I'm on cloud nine. I'm not going to lie to you guys. We seem to be winning and winning and winning, but it's not even just that. We just seem to be doing it emphatically, and I am ecstatic. So, God, I don't know how you guys feel. We always do the highlight and low light of the Burnley or the previous game. So I'm going to give you mine. The highlight, Kai Havertz. I've been a much criticised, I've been a much critiqued analyst, shall we say, of Kai Havertz. But watched the game in full on Saturday and I was shocked. Taken aback by how he plays, just allows the others to get into that space, do their shit, basically, and get things done, score some goals. That was my highlight. The low light, the subs. We have an issue sometimes, and sometimes we praise him for Arteta's decisions on subs. I just thought we could have made subs earlier on. I thought we could have rested players earlier on, and I thought potentially, I guess I'm feeling like it is a low light because the impact of the subs just wasn't the way I want it to be. As soon as the subs, came on, it just felt like the game died out and we didn't really do much. So that was mine. Tabs, what about yourself? Highlights and lowlights of the game?
Yeah, well, I think you stole my highlight because I've got quite a few, but I'd written Havertz because his performance, not just last week, but against Burnley, really deserved it. And one thing, again, I love all this stuff, really caught my eye, and I rewatched his goal, and I rewatched it from actually pre-giving the throw in. So actually, I watched them getting the throw in, and as soon as Kivior went to pick up the ball, he went on a run from deep in midfield and carried on running. And as soon as Kivior picked the ball, then he got the ball. So it's not just a case of he was there up front already. No, he started the run and just showed the intelligence of the man to see the opportunity whilst Burnley were half asleep. And he just made a great run to get the goal. But in terms of my highlight, I think then is Saka's second goal. I loved it. It was basically game over at that point if it wasn't already. But now, last week, he comes in, he sells the keeper. Does he go far post? Does he go near post? This week, he smashes it high like he did against Leeds and Everton last year. So now the keeper doesn't know what to expect. So, and I think also it was very near the time that maybe Wolves scored, but I'm not too sure. But yeah, that was my highlight, seeing Saka get that second goal. Was superb. Really enjoyed that. In terms of low light, it's back to Saka. I'm sorry, I don't trust him as a penalty taker. I know he scored it. But yeah, I'm just not 100% convinced by him as a penalty taker, and I think that was close to being saved. He hesitated. The goalkeeper hesitated. I think Heaton, his name. I can't remember his name, but he hesitated, and it went through. And I'm not there with him as a penalty taker yet, but good on him for getting and taking it, and that's it. So those are my highlights and lowlights.
I can't believe you said that. I thought. Yeah, that penalty, I must admit, wasn't the best. And James Trafford, the goalie, kind of stumbled and then, kind of went again. But I've been really impressed with Saka's penalty taken this season. Apart from that one, I think he's so young and the courage he's shown just to step up and take penalties after the Euros.
Yeah, no, I don't knock that at all. It just like the one against West Ham, goalkeeper goes the right way. It's a comfortable height to save. This one, I actually saw him look where he was going to hit it, and if I can tell where it's going, so can a professional goalkeeper. So it's okay. Look, he scores it in great. It's just that he doesn't strike me the same confidence as we had, say, with like Robin van Persie back in the day, or or even Henri or something like that. So it's just I'm just not there yet. But as you say,
85% penalty success rate for Saka, by the way. So he's only missed 2.
I know. It's just a feeling. I'm not knocking it. Anyway, I think that's it for me. We'll see.
We could speak an hour on Saka and the penalties. Yeah. But David, I'm going to come to you next. What was your highlight and lowlight of the game on Saturday?
My highlight would be the cohesiveness of the team, to be fair. It's something that I feel like we're seeing more week on week. It feels like they feel more together and they're playing more together. And that's something you'd like to see, because when they do start playing well, you can tell that it isn't just a good performance, it's consistent goodness and everything working to become a Titan if they wanted to be one in the Premier League or the Champions League even. And my low light would be another goal, if I'm being deadly honest. I would want us to have the highest goal difference if possible, because at the end of the day, if we do end up tied to Man City as we currently are, or to a Liverpool, the goal difference is what's going to be the tiebreaker. So the more goals, the merrier.
Interesting. You are just one greedy Arsenal fan, right? You can't take 11-0 on aggregate over 2 games. You just want more. That is just greed. But look, we're used to it now. The next game, surely it's going to have to be 7-0, right? We just have to keep going up and up. So 6, then 5, and then, well, please no one say 4 next, and we're not going downhill. Whale, what about yourself? Highlight and lowlight of the game on Saturday?
Highlight would be Havertz scoring. I mean, that's what I need. Like, I saw him obviously sort of just about one-on-one with the keeper, and it's like, well, is he going to score this or is he not? And he finished it off. I liked it. Little nutmeg. Hopefully that gives him a little bit of confidence as well. So that would be my highlight. Mainly speaking, a lot of things that he does, drawing people in, ghosting, going to spaces, these aren't things that everybody sees. These aren't things that you necessarily want your guy who's 65 million quid to do. What you want him to do is either score goals and or assists. And that's what we need more of. So the fact that he got a goal, I enjoy. Low light, to be fair, I didn't really necessarily have one, but I mean, gun to my head, piggybacking off of what Tab said, I thought that penalty was going to be saved. Like, you could see it. But it's one of the, as far as sports goes, like the odds are so overwhelming in favor of the penalty taker that I'll be honest with you, you got to be pretty bad for me to lose confidence in you. Pick a spot, kick it as hard as you can. I don't know why these guys now do the little giddy up and the slow walk and the this and that. Like, it's just physics. Where that ball is, how close it is to the goalkeeper. If you kick it hard enough in a spot, there's no way you're really going to get it unless you're just lucky enough to guess where it's going. So I guess, gun to my head, low light. The penalty looked pretty poor, but I mean, it's 5-0, so we'll take it, right?
The funny thing is, it's really hard to think of a low light for games where we've just won 6-0 and 5-0. But it's funny that we always have these little things in the back of our mind. I didn't realise you guys thought that negatively almost about Saka's penalty. It was a non-topic for me after he scored it. I just think, if you score, that's it, regardless of how bad the penalty is. Funnily enough, I was watching Rangers play. I'm not a Rangers fan. I hate the club. I'm not affiliated with them in any sense of the word. I'm sorry if any Rangers fans are listening. But I was watching James Tavernier take 2 penalties today for Rangers against St Johnstone. I know you guys probably don't even care about Scottish football, but yeah, exactly. Who? Rangers? Who? New club. They were formed just a few years ago. Basically, James Tavernier is, I think, 3rd on the all-time scorers list for footballers in Scotland since the year 2000 or something. There was a crazy stat that I seen today during the game, and he's a defender, right? He's a right back, so he just scores penalties. And when he stepped up for 2 penalties today, both in the top corner each side, it was just so calm, poised, just really, really well taken penalties that's the only time I'll ever compliment any Rangers players, any Rangers things at all. So you can screen record that if any Rangers fans are listening and
Clip it.
clip it. Yeah, exactly. And the only way you can do that, guys, is by liking, sharing, following, commenting, and doing everything that I ask you to do every week. So please do that right now. Clip it, send it to me, send it to all your friends, and laugh about how I despise Rangers Football Club and love Arsenal. Moving on, I want to briefly touch on our first 11. The lineup was announced, and it was just really refreshing and really good for kind of consistency and as Dawitt mentions, team cohesiveness to play the same starting 11. I really was impressed by that. I was really happy to see that. And it was funny because in the chat, a lot of the guys were like, another 6-0 win then, another 6 goals. And it was getting to that point. I was thinking, oh my God, have we just found the blueprint to win by 5 or 6 goals every single week with this team? I don't know what your guys' thoughts were. If anyone has any thoughts, Will, I'll come to you first. Did you have any thoughts on the lineup? Did you think potentially anyone should have been swapped in or out or anything?
I mean, couple things. As far as the blueprint goes, I think it's playing bad teams. So that's the blueprint for getting 6 goals and 5 goals.
West Ham are European champions. West Ham have won a European Cup.
They're horrible this year. So that's, this is what good teams do. This is what City's been known for doing over the years. Like, it's why they have huge goal differentials most years. When they play these teams, they beat up on them and they keep it moving. Home, away, it doesn't matter. When I saw the lineup come out, I like Trossard. So I was like, you know what? Let's see what the little guy can do. And the little guy sort of proved himself. So much so that it's a good problem that Arteta has now, as far as when guys start getting healthy, right, who's starting? It's probably going to be the guy who's playing best, and we know who that is at the moment. So saw the 11. I was like, you know what, this could work. And then we obviously saw what happened. So so far so good, man. Arteta can stay. I'm Arteta in for now.
I mean, I don't think. Well, to be honest, I don't think he had much choice other than Jorginho. Everyone was still, the likes of Tommy's injured and Zinni's still injured and Partey and Jesus. So the ones that you'd potentially say, okay, who's your first 11? So I think he had to really stick with this. I think it's great because when these players are fit, you've then got a whole squad of players who've all had good minutes, who've all had good time. It also gives him options. As in, okay, if something happens mid-game, well, I can switch to this. So he's actually got now a bit of variety and a few options, whereas, before when we had just Jesus up front and Saka and Nelly wide, it was a bit predictable. We knew a lot of people knew we were doing. So now all of a sudden he's got another way of playing. And he's also adapting, so he's not forcing the issue. He's basically saying, okay, right, Kivior, you're not an inverter. You stay where you are. We'll change things up a bit. White, you're a very good footballer, have played some in midfield, so you can do more of the inverting. And with Trossard, I find Trossard fascinating. So I think there's a stat going around where he's got a goal or assist every 111 minutes, which is third behind Henry and RVP. And it's not like he's so impactful. However, if you would say who's your first 11, he wouldn't be in your starting 11. But he's amazing at what he does, and he's what a winter signing. He just came in straight away, fitted in. He's an Arteta player and playing that false 9 position. And the way he teams up with Havertz, the way they rotate, they pass and move, is good. It is great, and it's fantastic to see. So yeah, I was really happy to see this first 11. I didn't think Burnley had much of a chance. Against this, and we do our job and we win the game. So yeah, it was good.
David, do you have any thoughts on that? The one question I wanted to ask you, actually, just wanted your opinion on this, if I could. That I know, Tabs, you've made notes again as usual. Thank you so much. In fact, before I ask you, David, I'm going to just give a shout out to you, Tabs, because the work you do behind the scenes on this podcast is unbelievable. You are, we're not even 10 episodes in, and some of the work you do and the preparation you make, and you're the glue that holds us all together. So everyone, please, you need to like it just for Tabs, right? But yeah, brilliant. And Wales kind of clicking in the background. But no, I just want to yeah, say massive props to these notes. They really, really are amazing. David, the question for you is, we obviously played with 4 centre backs, if you like, on Saturday. What are your thoughts on the fact that we are not now inverting without Zinchenko in the team, and we're playing almost like a solid back line, if you like? Do you have any particular opinion on that?
I think it's good. We're playing to players' strengths at the end of the day, which is way better than what we wanted to do before when we tried to make everyone play in the system. I mean, it shows strength and also us moving forward as a team, because the more we do play to the players and not to the system, the more players can play more impactful and be more open and free with the way they're playing, so they can try more things that might go well. It might go completely horrible as well. It might be a bad thing, which will end up blowing up in our face in certain situations. But I feel like it will give the players and the team confidence moving forward, and will help us if we tend to bring back a Kieran Tierney, or if we bring back a player or bring a new player in who likes playing a specific type of way, but we normally don't do so. I think it will definitely help us out as well, with the sense that now we are actually playing for the players.
Yeah. I hope that was a fire engine going past, because this podcast is on fire. It's on flames, as they say.
But it's
Let's just hope that actually makes it into the pod, and people can hear that in the background. Otherwise, they'll be thinking.
But it's
what?
not just about starting 11s and injuries before the game. Actually, mid-game, something happens mid-game. So, his preference is to, say, for instance, have Saliba as the centre of the 3 centre-backs. He's more of the playmaker, the ball player, and all the rest of it. And Gabby's more of a rock to get past and puts players down the channel, and is much more defensively strong. But we now have to adapt. So Saliba's playing more wide, Gabby's playing in the middle, and that may have to change during a game. We may be playing an important Champions League game, an important game. So, we've got an injury. Zinni's out. Oh, crap. Now we've played this. Now we're used to it, and we as fans are not going to be fearful. And we say, okay, we've seen this before. We've done this. Yeah, no bother. Let's go.
I'm really happy with Sorry, Will. Just wanted to just very quickly mention it. I'm really happy with the fact that we can do this. We can play without Zinni and not invert and just play like a normal back 4. And a massive shout out to Jakub Kiwior. What a player he has been in the last 2 games. I know it's only Burnley and West Ham, but he is, when he came on against Liverpool as well, I've been really, really impressed with him. And it just shows what kind of player we have on our hands now that, he's getting some minutes into the team. And it just made me wonder, is that what it's going to be like when Emile Smith-Rowe finally starts getting minutes, and Fabio Vieira and other players? Or, that's kind of what's in the back of my mind. Is that what minutes does to a player, essentially? But yeah, sorry, Will, you were going to say something.
No, I mean, obviously this football is more fluid, and the other football across the pond is set pieces. So it's these things are going to happen depending on who we're playing against. The guys that go in the game. I mean, Kiwior, for instance, he's a center back. He doesn't really have many midfield skills, so I don't like it when they want him to invert. And I think Arteta's sort of figured out that that's not the best way to play it. And when he's in the lineup, if we're going to do that sort of thing, we switch it out to the right hand side and let Benny Blanco do it. Hot take for me, I think Big Gabby's our player of the year. He's an unsung hero. One could argue that he's having a better year than Saliba. I haven't seen him. I mean, he's been known to have what they call the bozo gene and what people are saying. But, I mean, I think Saliba's made more mistakes that have led to goals than Gabby has this year. Gabby also, was it the first 2 games? He didn't even play. And as a true pro, just sort of sucked it up and has come in since then. And it's just put solid performance. And he's an Iron Man. Like, I doesn't even get hurt, and he doesn't ask for this. And now he's scoring goals for us. So happy about that. As far as moving forward with, who's that guy we got that plays the number 9 for us? I don't even know. Has he lost his spot? To have to say, I don't know, because it's sports, man. What have you done for me lately? You've been on the training table for me lately, and the other guy has been 11 goals in 2 games for me. So I still got to start him, right? And then if it doesn't work out, I yank him at halftime. I can't just. J9 isn't so good. He's not one of these players that doesn't lose his starting position to injury. Certain guys, you get injured, you walk right back into the team. But I don't think he's earned that right
I
yet.
agree. I would agree with that. I can't help but think Arteta will put him back into the team when he's back. I have visions of when he came back after being out for so long, and last season was at Fulham away when he came back and made his long anticipated return, and got a huge cheer from the fans. I remember that really well. But Trossard down the middle, just we can't not continue to go with him, right? I mean, it's garnering results. I mean, the way he plays, it's just he's not able to be dropped, and we can't drop Saka or Martinelli. I mean,
but isn't it a great problem to have? And let's not forget how good he is, Jane. I know, Nottingham Forest goal and assist. Okay, and he played that game with an injury, and that's why he's out now, I think, and all that. So, and also in the Champions League, and I think we'll touch on it later when we talk about Porto. He's a demon in the Champions League. That's where he comes to life. His scoring record there is great. So it could be just game by game. Let's see what's going to suit.
Well, for us or for City? Because he played for City.
Okay, but he likes it there. But also this season he's got a good record in the Champions League. So yeah, who knows? But I just coming back to your point, Moz, when you were saying about Kivior's looking good, or will this happen to ESR or whoever? What's happened in the past when they've played minutes, say in the Europa League, they weren't playing in a good team. All of a sudden, you drop one of these players who's coming back, who we're unsure about, into 10 functioning players who are at the top of their game. They will look good and they will play well. And the reason why we may have had doubts before about Kivior, well, he's asked to play whatever position, but also the team may not have been functioning or maybe playing with a second string team for a game that we didn't really care about. So I'm actually, I quite like having these one or two players come in, but if you're in a functioning team, I think they'll perform. I think they'll do well.
I agree. I don't want to moot too long on that point, but I agree with your guys' opinions. And I'm just laughing to myself thinking about the bench that we had and the group chat going absolutely bananas over Sweet. It's funny. The only reason why I know James Sweet is because of like playing Football Manager or FIFA or whatever, and you see the name and you wonder who is this, and the first thing you do is on Football Manager you go to profile, offer to all clubs, and you don't even look at his stats or anything. But he must be good if obviously if he's made it on the on the subs bench. I believe he's 20 years old, and I think I was looking at his stats. He scored once in the under 21s Premier League or whatever.
What's his position?
But it was just interesting.
What position does he play?
So James Sweet is classed as a midfielder. I think he kind of plays centre mid essentially. So yeah, I mean, he made it on the bench. I don't know if you guys remember, he was on the bench for the League Cup against Brentford when Nelson scored kind of first 10 minutes. Was that September time? September last year, so when we beat Brentford. So he was on the bench then as well, I remember. But it was just really interesting to see the bench. I mean, I'm just looking back now, obviously we had Cedric, Nketiah, Nelson, Jorginho, Smith Rowe, Ramsdale, El Neni. That's like our recognised players, if you like. 5 of them made it on, which was fine. El Neni and then Bandera and Sweet, and obviously Ramsdale never made it on. We talk about strength and depth and we talk about squad depth, but this is just could be an unpopular opinion, but Man City's bench isn't that good as well. When I look to the Man City bench, right, I know you guys I can see you now laughing at me, but when I tell you Man City's bench, they had Oscar Bob and Sergio Gomez, Rico Lewis, and Mamadou Sissoko, I can't say his name. So there's 4 players, maybe Rico Lewis and Oscar Bob, obviously they play kind of regularly. Then they had Kovacic, Nunez, Stones and Silva with their sub-keeper Ortega. So when you look at that bench, do you really think that apart from Silva, Stones, Kovacic, Nunez and the rest go into the Arsenal team? I don't think so. I really don't. So yeah, I mean, I guess we're kind of struggling with injuries, and there was that stat going around or the tweet going around on Twitter as well last week saying by the end of next month, Arsenal will have every single player back from injury and a fully fit squad to choose from. things are looking up. But I do think the bench is not as bad as some people make out. What I would say is the quality of those players potentially aren't as good. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that, or if I've just
Well,
I don't know what I'm trying to get to.
No, but I think we're potentially we're 1 or 2 injuries away from being in a bit of danger. But I think if we ride it out with players coming back, I think we'd be fine. We just fingers crossed. No one gets nothing serious. So again, I think, like I said last time, it's the cluster injuries. It's not just one injury. It's 1, 2, 3 in one position. That's where it kills you. So let's see. I think we'll be good.
So, sorry, Will, on you go. I was just going to ask you, your Dawitt, if you had any opinions. Dawitt, I can just see you. It's funny, everyone's got like the normal backgrounds, and you've just got the Arsenal players in your background, and it just feels like you're there with Kai Havertz celebrating. I'll try putting a screen grab of this up. It's just so funny. It's like you're one of the players. I don't know if you guys have any opinions on what I kind of said.
I'll jump in only because I see David's on mute, so I'll speak and then he can speak. City's got a good bench with, I think, a couple of those players get into our side. But at the end of the day, I mean, there were some stats going around. I think it was last week on Twitter, because that's what I call it, about teams and managers and their rotation and like how short the rotation actually is. And like the last couple of years, like Pep's been, I believe it was top 3 as far as how many players he actually uses. Like he's not, playing a bunch of people unless injury forces him to. He's got his rotation and he pretty much sort of sticks to it. So it's not necessarily about how good your bench is. Unless you need them. It's one of those things. Like when you need them and you got a great bench, it's great. But if you don't need them, you'd rather have a really good starting 11 and a thin bench and hope you've got players that stay healthy. And some players do and some players don't. It's just one of those things. Like some players injure themselves in practice, like tying their shoes, and other players are Iron Man and they go their whole career and they're never hurt. So I like the fact that as opposed to last year, it seems to have sort of flipped. We seem to be coming into our own and getting people back at this time of year, when last year it seemed to be where people were just sort of falling off left, right, and center. And maybe the pressure was getting to the guys a bit. I'm not certain. So I feel good at this time. I'm just a little anxious, but we'll see. Dawitt, what are your thoughts on it?
The bench, at least on my side, I feel like has significantly strengthened and will move from strength to strength. But I also do like seeing that 1 or 2 youngsters whenever we have them there. And I feel like that's something we shouldn't really give up on. I feel like we should have the usual people on our bench who constantly come on and try to when we do game management, when we try to control the game after a certain point. But I do think we should give more chances to other people, because at the end of the day, what can more competition do to other people other than create a tougher and more better version of us at the end of the day?
The interesting thing about that was Mikel Arteta in the post-match press conference mentioned something along those lines, saying about, I think he was asked about how do you keep this going and what do you do in training every day to make these players, win games after the poor run of form we were on pre-Dubai. And the first thing he said was generate competition within the squad. And I think that's quite evident. I don't know if you guys keep an eye on the social media pictures going around, but there always seems to be small-sided games where the winning team gets photographed right at the end of training, and you always see there's youngsters mixed in with the first team, and potentially Aaron Ramsdale's there, not David Raya. So it just shows that there's competition going on every single day in training, and that's part and parcel of being a professional football team, right? Just moving on, before we need to speak about the Champions League in midweek, which I'm really excited for. Just want to talk about how we played, really. I mean, I just think we were so... I'm copying your words here, Tabs. I know you wrote fluid on the screen, but I promise I was going to say that anyway.
I'm not original,
we were so fluid.
I'm not.
Listen, you're one of a kind. We were so fluid, and players just knew where each other were on the park, and we were trying different things and new passes and just various little bits and bobs that worked. And it was so good to see the core group of our defence and midfield. So you had Saliba, Gabriel, and Rice, just the rocks at the back. And like I said, I think, Will, you mentioned about Gabriel, Big Gabby, just being such a... He I think, is our most important and also potentially our most improved player this season so far. He has been immense. Just watching that defence, I was thinking whilst watching the TV, is there a duo or even a trio with Rice, Gabriel and Saliba better than that in world football right now? I really struggle to find one. I really do. And all this talk on TalkSport on Friday night about Arsenal in the Champions League, can they win it? I was getting myself all giddy and excited driving home from football. I was playing football on Friday night, getting myself all excited. I found myself just smiling as I was driving along, listening to these guys saying, we're in with a chance of winning it with these players. So
we're third. We're third favourites with the bookies for the Champions League.
Yeah. But then again, we're second favourites
behind City and Madrid.
We're second favourites to sign Kylian Mbappe, but that's not going to happen. So we can leave that for maybe towards the end of the pod. I don't know if anyone has any burning desire to speak about how we played Tabs. I know you've got a bit of an opinion on it, so I'll let you take it away.
No, the one thing I think that stands out, as I said, Ode was good. Leo and Havertz interchanging. Benny White, right? But I think our defence is now developing that aura. The ability to clean sheets, and you could tell. Right, we've won this game. We are not letting in a goal. You could see it last week against West Ham when they were, celebrating, making sure that they didn't let one in. You can see again. And I think we're just getting an aura now. Defenses are coming up. Attackers are coming up against blimey, is it these guys? We don't stand a chance. And so, before, when we weren't putting these teams, or teams used to think, we've got a chance, they've got a vulnerability, we can get at them. I think now our defence has got that aura about them, and it's like, wow, and we've sort of beaten them. That thing, we've beaten them in the tunnel before we've got out onto the pitch, and I think that's I think standing out in terms of how we play and how teams try and get to us. I think we're making it incredibly difficult for them.
Yeah, I want all of that to be true, but I don't know. I mean, I guess a slight reality check, and it's touching on what I mentioned a bit earlier on in the pod. Look who we're playing. So when I see these sort of performances come across some better teams, then I'll be more on the bandwagon, so to speak. I mean, you can only play the teams in front of you, so I'm not knocking it. We did great. We've had great offense. We've had great defense. The teams aren't great, but those are the teams we're scheduled to play. So this is what you expect a team that's capable of winning silverware to do. You play teams that are not so good, you smash them, and you keep it moving. So I'm happy with what we're doing. But I'm not getting too excited about the defense. And I mean, the last two games, as far as picking scores, I mean, I picked a decent scoreline as far as goals scored, but I always was like 1. So whether it was 4-1, 3-1, 5-1, whatever it was 1. Because I was like, we're likely to give up a goal. So I'm hoping we can get on some sort of roll, and when we go on to play some of the better teams, we can keep it to nil goals. But I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, but with that, sorry, Moses, but with that, you're right. You can only play what's in front of you. But again, last year, 2-0 up against West Ham, we saw what happened, and we saw some vulnerability last year. I think this year that vulnerability doesn't seem to be there. And as I said, and even if you're playing poor teams, we played Liverpool, West Ham, and Burnley. And I think it was 2 shots on target in 3 games. So even bad teams can still try and have a shot on target, whatever. So the fact that we're not even giving up chances and giving up that potential.
Yeah. But where did the goal come from, though? What team? The good team. So the good team got a goal against us. We won, and that's great. But that just goes to what I'm saying. The good team got a goal against us, and the bad team didn't. But that was
okay. Yeah, no, fair enough. But I would just say,
I know what you're going to say.
Metric and the way we're going. is going in that direction. Yeah,
I just wanted to ask, and I'm going to say it because you guys never mentioned it, and everyone's thinking it. The Liverpool goal game came from a mistake, right? So would that happen 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a row? No, it wouldn't. Would we have kept a clean sheet 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a row? Maybe not. But Will, I've got a question for you, right? If we played, or if we play like we did against Burnley and West Ham against Man City in a few weeks' time, will we win that game? If we play exactly how we played against these so-called lesser teams?
I don't think Arteta would let us play the exact same way. I don't think he's to that point yet. The fact that we're going up there to City, me personally, I'd probably like to maybe a bit more high flying and go at him, but I don't think he will, especially where we'll be positioned at the table as well. I think we will have a more cautious approach, so it's just different. I don't expect to see Kivior in that side. I expect to see more of don't let these guys get behind you. I expect to be a lot more cautious. Obviously, still going for goals, but I don't think we'll take as many risks. I might be proven wrong because I prefer to see an up and down game. But I mean, I don't like draws. I don't like ties. Whatever you want to call them. I mean, I like wins. And if you lose going for the win, I'm okay with that. But I wouldn't fault him if it gets to a point where it's like we're happy with that point, especially depending on other results in the league and what's happened with Liverpool. So when we go there, I mean, he's going to say all the right things. We're going to win this, that, and the other. But it wouldn't surprise me if we go there playing extremely cautious, very sort of compact, and just looking to take our chances as and when they come, but not risking anything, not exposing whoever's going to be playing on that left side, because I think Kivior can be exposed, and I know Zinni can be exposed, and I don't know what Tomiyasu's calf muscles are going to be saying then.
I'm worried for Phil Foden run up against Kivior or Zinchenko, to be honest. He's better than Saka, right? If you listen to social media over the last couple of weeks.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah, thanks. He needs to compare himself to Cole Palmer before he comes for King Bukayo first and foremost. Just to wrap up.
Hey, Cole Palmer's a good player, man. He's a really good player, man. He's having a really good year for a not so good team.
Just to wrap up on part one of the pod, I know we usually do the thing where we talk about the goals. I think they were very good, and we've kind of touched on our performance. I just wanted to it was quite funny, I guess, just our predictions before the game. Tabs, you messaged us all just asking for our predictions, and no one won. No. I came closest, I must say, and it's there in black and white. It's there in writing. It's not been changed.
What'd you say?
Well, I put 4-0, but when we went and scored the fifth, I tried to edit the message on, but it didn't let me edit it because it was too long. So Tabs had said 3-0, I said 4, David, you said 2-0, and Will, you had said 4-1. So you kind of got it right. I mean, 4 + 1 gives you 5, right? So
I'll take it, man. I'll take it.
I just want to move on to part 2 of the podcast. I think I've got a lot to say and a lot to ask you guys about Porto, if you don't mind, guys. So does anyone have anything else to add? Anyone have anything to say about the game, or are we going to just move on to part 2? Anyone?
No.
I'll take that silence as a no. So just moving on to the Champions League, I am so excited. It's just one of those where we have deserved to be back in the Champions League based on our performances over this season, right, and the last couple of seasons, I guess. But I'm just so excited for what could potentially be this season for us. And it's written in the stars almost at the finals in Wembley and, in London. And it's just, I'm just looking so forward to it. I don't get excited, days before games, but this is one that I am really excited for. I believe it's very winnable. And I believe that we can certainly go away from home and go to Porto and get a result. I just want to ask you guys on the approach, though. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on how we approach the game. Do we, first and foremost, Tabs, I'll come to you first. Do we line up with the same team that just played against Burnley and West Ham, or do we go different? What's your thoughts?
Well, I think first off, it depends who's fit and who's available.
Let's assume everyone is fit. No one's carrying any knocks or anything. Fingers crossed.
Okay, so we're now entering the part of the season where we're going to be playing midweek and weekends. So all of a sudden, the last 5 games was good, comfortable. We come off a great rest, 1 game a week, fresh. Go in and you see what happens. 20 goals for, 2 against. You know what happens. So now we're into a big different kettle of fish. So we've got Tuesday Porto, and then we've got Saturday night against Newcastle. So all of a sudden, this is now going to dictate some of what we do. So I if just Jesus is fit, I think he brings him back in for the game. I think he wants to go in. It's this Champions League. It's our first knockout Champions League game for 6-7 years. We're back in the spotlight. I think he wants to go in strong, get a great first leg result, and make it easier for the second leg. So I think he will go as strong as he can, but I think he'll be playing Jesus up front, and if Zinni's fit, he'll bring back Zinni. So he's sort of going back to that formation before, and then everyone else sort of stays the same with Havertz and Rice and so on. Especially because again, Porto, they're okay, but they're no great shakes again. So they should, okay, they're at home and they haven't lost at home for a long time. But I think he's just going to go in there with the strongest possible team as possible and try and dominate and just play as usual game.
Will?
Yeah. So the game's Wednesday. I'm not sure if you said it was Tuesday, Tabs. It's Wednesday. Well, the internet is still saying it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, sorry, forgot. I'm thinking.
No, it's fine.
Game's Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah.
It's one of those things. I mean, it's good to rotate. It's good to keep people fresh. But I mean, if push came to shove and we needed both of these wins, if it's a harder opponent than Porto, are we saying our professional athletes can't play a game Wednesday and Saturday? Like, is that where we're at? Because I appreciate we may not need to with Porto, but maybe it's not Porto. Maybe it was Real Madrid, and maybe Saturday isn't Newcastle, it's City, and you need both wins. And you want to play your starters. I think we're all in agreement, right? Like if push comes to shove, our professional athletes, if need be, can play 2 games in a week, right? Okay. I'm just looking forward to it. Getting back to knockout rounds. I'm really looking forward to the home leg of it because I'm going, so that'd be great. But as far as the lineup goes, I think it would be nice it's nice probably to get J9 back in there. I mean, players always want to play, so I assume Trossard's probably going to want to play this game. But I would use this time to sort of rotate the squad a little bit. But I'd have my finger on the substitution buttons. Put it that way. Like at halftime.
Are you saying you would start Gabriel Jesus on midweek? Wow.
Yeah, I would. Okay. Yeah, definitely. But with the finger on the subs button. So at halftime, if things aren't looking right, like nobody's safe, I'd switch to I'd use all my subs if need be. But I'd put Jesus in for this midweek. I think it's the type of opponent where you can do that. And again, if it doesn't work out, you sub him. So that's where I'm at. It's going to be interesting. We're on a roll, and I like it. I like it a lot.
David, what's your thoughts? Do you think Gabriel Jesus will start midweek against Porto, or do you think Trossard will start and Jesus will come off the bench?
I think Jesus is going to start. He's proven it in the Champions League so far this season for us, in the group stage at least. He's shown that he can be that player for us, especially that away game at Sevilla. He showed that he was a very intricate player and was a commodity that we needed in our team for the Champions League at least. I feel like he's the person who's going to help us bring something new to them and push them out of their comfort zone in this type of game where we need that.
That's really interesting. You guys think that. I think the opposite. I don't think he'll risk Gabriel Jesus. I think we've got a much bigger tie on the weekend again, or a fixture against Newcastle. I think he'll try to keep Gabriel Jesus for that, potentially. I don't think Kai Havertz starts against Newcastle, if I'm being honest with you. Obviously, we can talk about that midweek when the next episode of The Grove is released. probably on Thursday. I know, Tabs, you were thinking the game was on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're not going to be at the Emirates at 7 o'clock on Tuesday night now, and at least you know now.
Yeah.
But the next episode we'll discuss Newcastle, and obviously we'll have the result from the Porto game, and we'll find out. But I really don't see Kai Havertz starting against Newcastle, and potentially Gabriel Jesus comes in for him, and I don't know what the lineup would be. I'm just speculating. My opinion on that, though, is very much aligned with yours, Taz. What you've wrote there is, we go hard against Porto and rest, then somehow manage to bring players off, potentially Saka, Martinelli off, and rest them for Newcastle. I think we've got a huge week coming up when you think of Wednesday to, and then I believe it's FA Cup, isn't it? The following midweek. So we've got a little bit of a break over the other teams in the Premier League. We then play again on Monday against Sheffield United. So we do have a bit of a break. I just think we go hard, get a good result away from home, and then come back to the Emirates and kind of not take our foot off the gas, if you like, but just play a more relaxed game, which obviously I believe we're all going to.
Yeah. But
I know there was. Sorry, I just wanted to mention as well. Wale, you asked the question: do you think the team can't? You were saying, do you think the team can't play midweek and weekend? I think there's a very fine line from what I understand and from what I've been experienced. I'm not saying I'm a professional footballer any stretch of the imagination. I sometimes wish I am in my dreams, but it takes a lot of energy for the first, when you've not played midweek and weekend, and then you start getting back into it straight away. I don't think it's very wise that players do it, play 180 minutes potentially over two games or over the week. I think later on in the stages, if we get to the semis, for example, players will be more accustomed to it and used to it by then, and training schedules will change and whatnot. But I do think we need to be careful, because we cannot simply risk players who are either coming back from injury or just about to get injured again for whatever reason, and get to the point where Jurriën Timber, Fabio Vieira, Emile Smith-Rowe, Gabriel Jesus, Tomiyasu, they're all back, and then we lose another three players, for example, because we've rushed them and played them too much. That's just my opinion. So I do think we need to rotate. I don't think that rotation will be Gabriel Jesus coming in, though. That's the only thing. I think we might see a surprise addition, someone like a Smith-Rowe or El Neni or Jorginho or someone like that, just to give other players a bit of rest. Potentially, I don't know, Declan Rice, get some rest. I know he's kind of been limping the last couple of games or whatnot.
I think just before Wales responds, because I'm sure it will. It's not just a physical aspect. As I said, it's our first Champions League, and I think it's the emotional baggage that comes with that. And no, I agree. Professional players, yes, they can play 2-3 times a week. I said, Arteta said about Saka, he's got to get used to playing all the time. All the top players, Ronaldo and Messi, they play 2-3 times a week all the time. But I think that was a really good point, Moz. It's the first time back, so it's just adjusting to that next phase of the season. And now, causation and correlation are not the same thing, but City drew. They're at home against Chelsea at the weekend after their midweek Champions League game. So maybe related, maybe not. So it's more of a watch out and something to consider around this, because I think there's different pressures and intensity and all around the Champions League, not just the physicality that takes energy from you, and then all of a sudden you've got to come back, and Saturday's is a huge game. So it's just a fine balance that we just need to consider and work our way into.
Yeah, I mean, you both have said that. Not now, perhaps later. But when do you start? Do you start later? Because if you start later, then later's the first time. So surely you want your first time to be before later. And I'm not saying necessarily that if they play this game and the next game that they're playing the full 90 minutes. Ideally speaking, they come in and you take care of business, and then you pick and choose who you'd like to sub. And then if you've got people who are injury prone, then you don't play them in multiple games because they're injury prone, and you know that. So it's something to think about sort of moving forward, and you don't want the first time to be in a must-win situation. I would like the first time to be in something where, we're going to throw you out there, and then, after 50 minutes, I can pull you off. And then during the week, when you're playing these 2 games a week, the training sessions aren't as intense. It's it's doable in my opinion. But we'll see. I mean, because either way, I mean, Porto shouldn't really give us that much trouble. And to be honest, Newcastle hasn't been good in like 2 months, so they really shouldn't be giving us too much trouble either. So it's
famous
I
last
think
words.
we'll be all right.
Watchers now struggle against both teams. I'm not saying lose, but I'm saying struggle against both teams now to break them down. In terms of stats, I know you say Porto haven't been up to too much, and I was just looking there whilst you guys were chatting about. I must admit, I don't really keep an eye on Porto's results very often. All I know is they have Pepe at the back, who still seems to be playing. But just looking at their results, Porto are unbeaten in 10 home games. We've obviously not lost in the last 5. I think it's a tougher game than what we maybe think it will be. However, when you look at teams on paper, I know we don't, paper doesn't mean anything, but they don't really have much about them. Their top scorer, Evan Nielsen, 9 goals, 2 assists. Their wingers have 3 goals apiece, 3 assists apiece. I mean, should we really be worried about them? Do they have enough in their armoury to take down Arsenal?
Oh, do you want to take this?
Yeah, go for it, David. Give me your piece. Thank you so much as well for getting all these stats. I mean, they're so useful to us who probably don't follow. I don't think anyone follows Portuguese football, so I really appreciate it. I hope you never watch too many Porto games, David, when Tabs asked you to compile some stats.
I mean, Porto, at least going back to that last point, they have 4 games in between playing us again, compared to us who only have 3. So they're playing on Sunday, then I believe Wednesday again. So with that, they do have a bit more of a load compared to us because they're still in the Portuguese Cup. I think they're dangerous. They have a very good team by looks of things. They just seem to be under the radar. And I think that they have this underdog spirit because, their vice president even came out and said that they perform miracles. And I think they want to try perform an upset that would be like a miracle, like beating a team like Arsenal.
Even if they beat us in the home leg, let's say worst case scenario, if they beat us, say 3-2 or 2-1 or whatever, I still think we've got enough at home with the crowd behind us as well to go and get a result. I really don't think they've got enough to do that, to play miracles. It's a good point you make about the whole load that they've got. I think one of the games is against a team who are top of the 2nd division in Portugal, so potentially a chance to rest players, but you're right. They do play 4 times, and they'll be wanting to kind of wrap up or get. Well, I say wrap up the league, but they'll be wanting to obviously overtake Benfica and Sporting to try winning the league. And they're I think it's 7. I'm just looking now, 7 points behind. So it's not going to be an easy game, but I don't think it'll be a tough game. No. That's the best opinion I can give you on Porto.
Well,
and I can allude to that with your thing there, Tab. Sorry, I'm just looking at yours. Injuries, absences, no idea. Who cares?
But I mean, my research consists. So I've got someone who works for me who is based out of Lisbon. So he's a Benfica fan, but he promised to give me an unbiased view. And during our 1-to-1 last week, I said, we'll talk about work in a minute. Can you just give me a rundown on Porto? So I can. So
1-to-1. Your guy's about to get the sack, and you're asking him about feedback on Porto.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's end of year review time, so this is going to head into his bonus. So Angelo Diaz, thank you. So basically, he said they're not playing very well. They're 3rd in the league. They're not going to win the league. Their president, I think, is leaving and there's issues there. The leader of the Ultras was in jail and he's a really powerful figure. So that's causing a bit of trouble behind the scenes. They're basically a bit of a mess. He said they're not playing very well again. And I said, did they have any good players? No. So that was
fair enough.
So that's a 3-1 loss incoming. There we go.
And did you? I'm hoping he got a bonus for giving you that information, and an even bigger bonus coming. I shouldn't say that, but an even bigger bonus coming for when we beat them 3-1.
So there we go.
Yeah, it's interesting. Porto were in Barcelona's group in the Champions League, weren't they, in the group stages, and they failed to beat them both times. So they beat Shakhtar and Antwerp, didn't they, both games? So yeah, I mean, they look 12. I'm looking at the table now. won 4, lost 2, 12 points, but I think maybe we're reading too much into that. Let's go for predictions, though, live on the pod, so it can't be erased, right? Dawitt, you're up first as the guest. What is your prediction for the game against Porto midweek?
Okay, I am going to use something that might be a curse, but I am going for 4-0. 6-0, 5-0, 4-0.
That means in 8 games' time, we're going to lose 4-0. You know that, right?
We might be, I don't know. We might do an Everton, minus 10 points.
No, don't say that on the pod. Whale, what about yourself?
I think we're back to. I think it's back to reality a little bit. 2-1.
Okay.
Tabs?
Yeah, I was going to be along those lines. I think we might let one in. I think we'll win. But yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 as well. Sorry. Yeah.
I'm going 3-1 Arsenal. I think we'll let one in. I think they will score. It'll be interesting to see actually what keeper I'm assuming it'll be David Raya. But
yeah.
You know, I think 3-1. That's quite funny. Everyone's heard that now, so you can come back on the podcast once you've liked, shared, commented, and followed us. You can listen next week and hear who was right.
I just want to tell you. I just want to tell you something else funny in terms of my research. Not only did I ask my member of my staff, I also decided to check Chat GPT to see what they would predict, and all the rest of it. And they said danger player for Arsenal, Aubameyang. And then I realised ChatGPT's data only goes back to like 22
years ago.
22. So okay, so I won't bring that into the pod.
Porto need to be careful. Arsenal, need to be careful because Jose Mourinho, the Porto manager,
the up and coming young manager. Yeah,
that was actually quite funny. You mentioned that they were talking about that. I was looking at the last time Celtic were in the UEFA Cup final, and it was against Porto, and it was against a Jose Mourinho Porto side, and it was just funny. I was reading about it. I remember being 10 years old watching the game as a Scotsman. Obviously, you know, we picked Celtic or Rangers, and I went for the good team. And I remember watching that game and had tears in my eyes when Porto had scored in extra time. It was a silver goal rule, and then I kind of had Arsenal as well to follow. And I thought, you know what, it's Arsenal all the way here. And then we ended up, you know, going through the days without winning a trophy, and oh god, it's been a roller coaster. That's for sure. Just before we close off the podcast, there was a very interesting discussion in the group chat. I also put this question in the Arsenal Scotland Supporters Club group chat as well, and the question was simple. I don't want you guys to answer straight away. I'm just going to go for the question. Right? Would you swap Bukayo Saka for Kylian Mbappe? Player for player, no, don't worry about attitude or Mr. Arsenal or whatever. Player for player, assuming that Kylian Mbappe bought into the idea of the team, really got on with the players and the coaching staff and the manager, and also was on 300 grand a week, right? I just picked that salary out of thin air. Please, no one get excited. We're not signing him and we're not paying him 300 grand a week. Well, you never know. But that was the question I posed, and it just generated some really good discussion. And I believe, I haven't had a chance to properly check, I believe someone else in this podcast actually agreed with me. Now, clean shaven Mr. Whale. I mean, I wish we were doing video podcasts because when you shave, you look, it just looks so good. I haven't stopped staring at you all honestly. You look beautiful. Not that you'd never before, by the way.
We'll drop the link to my OnlyFans later on. Don't worry about it.
I just wanted to say on the Grove group chat, a massive shout out to the Grove. You guys have been so funny this week. It was 16 votes to no. They would not take Mbappe if it meant Saka went the other way. 2 people said yes. That was myself and Whale.
I didn't even see the final stats. So these guys, oh my goodness, Grovers, what is wrong with you? Basically, what he said was, if you could switch one player for another player who was better at everything than the other player, you wouldn't do it. What is going on?
Before Tabs and Dawitt come into this, I just want to say my piece, and then I'll let you guys argue the case, right? This is a really hot and interesting subject, but everyone was, saying no way, no way. And I think someone had put in saying, I'd give up Smith Rowe, Nketiah, Ramsdale, Martinelli for him. Would you though? Would you give up four potential squad players for him? Don't know. But the thing is, I think Tom actually, friend and lover of the podcast, Tom had said Mbappe could essentially F off in a couple of years for more money. Saka loves us. Henry chimed in. Doesn't matter. Saka's Mr. Arsenal. That doesn't matter. If we don't win the
No.
Champions League or the Premier League or whatever, and Real Madrid or Man City or I don't know who else in 5 years' time come calling and say, Bukayo, do you fancy 600 grand a week? Do you fancy a nice shiny 5-year contract? And do you fancy playing for one of the best teams in the world in Spanish football and come to Real Madrid and play with your best mate Jude? He'd be like,
And win lots.
he'd be like, yes, of course. So let's not beat around the bush. Bukayo Saka is not going to stay at Arsenal and do a Mark Noble and stay at Arsenal for the rest of his life. He will inevitably, if we don't win anything, if we don't win silverware, and by that I mean consistently. I mean, we can win a Champions League and a Premier League once and then never again for 20 years, right? He will go eventually if that doesn't happen. It depends if we win things. The same could be said for, I know Fraser kind of agreed with Saliba and Gabriel or whoever it was he'd said. But yeah, I think it's a no-brainer, Will. I'm with you on this, and I'm so glad you agreed and you were coming on this episode. When I seen the notification pop up saying someone else had voted with yes, I was so happy to click on it and see your name because I knew you were on the pod to back me up. I would.
Well, Moz,
Mbappe's...
Go on, Karen.
Yes, sorry, go on.
No, you go.
No, all I was going to say was Mbappe is better than Bukayo Saka at this moment in time in every single aspect of the footballing world. And the same could be said for, it was in one of the Arsenal Edinburgh chats. Someone was like, no, you guys are not real Arsenal fans. You guys, you should be watching the game when we're talking about this. You're not real Arsenal fans for wanting to get rid of Saka. We should always be keeping our players who are at Arsenal and we should never swap with anyone. And someone else replied saying, so would you give Mohamed El Neni up for Jude Bellingham? Because it'd be no by your logic. So, that's what the point I wanted to make. I'm so passionate about this.
Bring back Jenkinson.
I just want to say, before Tabs and Dabbit, you have your piece, I love Bukayo Saka to bits. I know he loves the podcast and everyone else should like, follow and share as well for that reason. I message Bukayo on Instagram and comment on his posts all the time. He never replies, by the way.
Really?
I love him at Arsenal. I think he's going to do great things at Arsenal Football Club, but I would 100 million% take Kylian Mbappe if it meant Saka went to PSG. 100 million%. Tabs, Dawit, argue your case.
No. I missed that one because I don't know. I missed that, but had I seen it, I would have been with you and Whale 100%. I mean, unless we win the Carabao, and unless we win the Carabao Cup, he might stay. But but no. I think listeners, you need to go back a few pods to understand that one. I 100% agree with what Whale said. Yeah, he's and Moz, you said he's better at everything than Mbappe at the moment. And so, yes, he's the far better player. And it's for me, it's a no-brainer. And this is why we support Arsenal Football Club. Yes, we get attached to players. We have our favourites. But players come and go. This whole idea of loyalty is nonsense. They go where they get paid the best or where they've got the best chance to win money. They don't stay at a club where they're not going to get that, especially the top players. So, it's... Yeah, we all love him. We all like him. But 100% swap him out. Mbappe comes along. We win the leagues, no doubt. So yeah, I'm 100% behind you on that one.
Wow, we all agree on something. Yeah. And David, you're in the minority here.
Okay.
Wow. Right, go on then. Argue your case.
Yeah. So before you say anything, Darwin, you're wrong. So.
Yeah, I also did not see that, and I would have disagreed with the majority there. Oh. But I will play devil's advocate just for the sake of someone here doing so. Bukayo Saka has been there for us when we were doing bad, and not doing bad, but when we were in a worse place than where we are right now, and constantly shows us why he's quality. And with Kylian Mbappe, I feel like he would cause more of an issue, a conflict in the team, in the sense that he would butt heads with players. He will have that situation where he'd had with Cavani, I believe, where he had that penalty issue He will have those issues where, when it comes to renegotiations, he loves speaking out and having everyone air out his own business.
How dare he speak out? Shut up and play, huh?
Yeah, it's a really good point you're making, David. But my question was just based on footballing ability, right? Let's just pretend in an ideal world he was perfect and he didn't speak out and he didn't butt heads with anyone and he was just Kylian Mbappe, the footballer. It's a really good point you make, and I know it's hard to be devil's advocate when you disagree. I'm in shock that we're all actually, people might switch off at this point and think, "Have you?"
I think it's convenient that they didn't see the poll and they agree with us. But whatever, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
They just don't want to be listed on the episode title that they disagree with us, right? No, a really interesting point. I'm actually going to put a poll on. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you can go underneath the episode and you can just answer yes or no if you would swap Kylian Mbappe for Bukayo Saka. It'll be really interesting to see. I'm also going to potentially add in, I don't know if I'll be able to do this or not fully yet, but there's a way I can add in someone you can click and record your own opinion and we can play it on next week's episode. I think it'd be quite a good way, if I can figure out how to do that, which I'm sure I will, to just start off with a few of these opinions for the next episode. But no, really, really interesting opinions, guys. And I love recording the episodes with you. Honestly, your opinions are amazing. The work you guys do behind the scenes for the pod is amazing. Thank you so much. I know we've went over the time a little bit, but thank you everyone for listening as well. We'll be back again. We're recording on Tabs. You're the man with the plan. So I believe we'll be recording again, obviously midweek for the post Porto podcast, the PPP, the post Porto pod. I must give a quick shout out. I'm sorry to Sasha. I know you've been pestering me and asking me for pictures or clips of the pod for something you're doing behind the scenes. I will get that done, I promise. I know I'm replying on this and not just on WhatsApp, but I thought I'd give you a shout out for wasting so much of your time recently. But yeah, we will be back, Tabs. I think you've got it. It's Thursday we're recording, so the episode will be out on Friday, the 23rd of Feb. So we will see you guys then. Tabs, Whale, David, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.